Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing about the Rawls welfare criterion. The Rawls theory of justice was first published in year 1971. A theory of justice was revised in year 1975. While translated editions were being released in year 1990s, it was further revised in 1999. In year 2001, Rawls published a follow-up study titled Justice as Fairness, a Restatement. In theory of justice, Rawls argues a principal reconciliation of liberty and equality that is meant to apply to the basic structure of a well-ordered society. The concept of Rawls' welfare criterion says that in order to achieve justice in the distribution of welfare, the equal distribution position should be socially preferred to the more efficient allocations on the grand utility possibility curve. It means Rawls proposing the equal distribution position to the efficient allocations on the grand utility possibility curve. It means he is giving the emphasis on equal criterion or the equal utilitarian approach in this regard. Under Rawls' welfare criterion, which he says that social choice is optimum when the welfare of worst of person increases. So it means when you can drop this equal utilitarian approach only in that case, or if the society would like to opt the inequality approach, then only it is possible or socially optimum when the welfare of worst of person is increasing. So in this regard, is actually narrating or mentioning two different things, which is very important. The one is original position and the second is veil of ignorance. Rawls belongs to the social contract tradition. Specifically, Rawls develops what he claims are principles of justice through the use of an artificial device. He calls it original possession, in which everyone decides principles of justice from behind a veil of ignorance. What is this veil of ignorance here? The veil is one that essentially blinds people to all facts about themselves. So they cannot tailor principles to their own advantage. So it's like a blanket under which the people are framing policies for the society for their own, but for they don't know the welfare about the society or for their own advantage. So he is defining in his own words this veil of ignorance. No one knows his place in society, his class position or social status, nor does anyone knows his fortune in the distribution of natural assets and abilities, his intelligence, strength, and the like. I shall even assume that the parties do not know their conceptions of the good or their special psychological propensity. The principle of justice are chosen behind a veil of ignorance. So, according to the Rawl, ignorance of these details about oneself will lead to principles that are fair to all. If an individual does not know how he will end up in his own conceived society, he is likely not going to privilege any one class of people, but rather develop a scheme of justice that treats all fairly. In particular, Rawls claims that those in the original position would all adopt a maximum strategy which would maximize the prospects of the least well off. Rawls believed that this principle would be a rational choice for the representatives in the original position for the reason that each member of society has an equal claim on their society's good. Natural attributes should not affect this claim. So the basic right of any individual before further considerations are taken into account must be to an equal share in material wealth. What then could justify unequal distribution? Rawls argue that inequality is acceptable only if it is to the advantage of those who are worst off. So here, according to the Rawl, there are the two approaches can be taken care of. for the welfare in the society. The one is equal utilitarian approach, and the second is unequal approach only in that case when the worst off person is given more benefit or his utility is increasing. To understand this, we'll go for equal utilitarian approach first. The equal criterion says that social choice is that everybody should enjoy same level of welfare or utility. So everybody's utility is increasing due to any reorganization of resources in the society or any policy framework. It is the equality of utilities of the two individuals that is required and not the equality of goods between them. So here the more emphasis we are giving on the equality of utilities rather the amount of goods. The distribution of goods between them will be determined by their taste and therefore utility function. Now to understand it, we'll go for the next slide and to understand it more graphically. We have here the grand utility possibility frontier and also this OT line, 45-degree line, which is showing the equal distribution line, indicating that the proportion of agent A's utility and agent B's utility is allocated in the same proportion. So the social welfare criterion of equality requires the choice of the position E on the grand utility possibility curve. So we can see here the point E, which is given on this BB dash curve, and this OT line is passing through this point E, indicating that individual A's utility and individual B's utility are same in the proportion and allocated in the proportion for the society. It should be noted that optimal allocation of resources between goods and distribution of goods between individuals will be determined by this optimally chosen position E under this criterion. So this E criterion is basically showing the equal utilitarian approach. It means everyone, those who are available in the society, whether A agent or a B agent, has equal right of a consumption or the equal right of choosing the utility in the economy. So the allocation should be made equally between A and B. And it should further be noted that it's the equality of utilities of the two individuals that's required. So we are considering the utilities which are in the same proportion, not the equality of goods between them. So the distribution of goods between them will be determined by their taste and preferences and therefore the utility functions. So that is entirely based on their choices, and this particular line OT is actually allocating the utilities in the same proportion between two sections of the society. Then we will talk about classical utilitarian welfare criterion in this regard. This is very important to understand more the Rawls utilitarian approach, because we considered here in the previous slide the one approach of the equal utilitarian approach of the Rawls analysis. We also know about this welfare function, but the classical social welfare function with regard to social welfare, they are summing the utilities of the individual of the society. So already I've seen that thing in case of Bergerson and Samuelson analysis too. So W, which is the function of these utilities, the utilities which is the aggregation of these utilities of an individuals. So utility of one individual, utility of second individual, and so on. So that is the different utilities here you can see in the one welfare function. So according to this social welfare function, social welfare indifference curves will be constructed. So as we have seen through the SWF, the social welfare curves and the social welfare functions can be constructed, which are the W1, W2 and W3 are the straight lines with having slope of -1, indicating these are the parallel lines to each other. So we can see the social welfare function W1, W2 and W3 are given over here with the same slope -1, also indicating they are parallel to each other. This grand utility possibility frontier, which is also following the tangency with this W social welfare function at the position Q. We know that the social welfare function W2 is a function of the sum of these two utilities, utility of A and utility of B. We also know the grand utility possibility frontier is the locus combinations of utility possibility frontiers, which is also showing the Pareto optimality points, different Pareto optimality points, which are infinite on the grand utility possibility frontier. The skew position is also reminding us the Bergson and Samuelson's bliss point, because we are following the tendency of both social welfare function and the grand utility possibility frontier. So it means the skew position, according to this classical welfare criteria, this is a social optimum position. But the Rawlsian welfare analysis says something different. We have here the socially preferred points, that is D and E. We already have discussed in case of concept of the Rawlsian analysis that socially preferred points should be considered a more optimum points than this efficient point in the society. So he is definitely considering this Q position as an efficient point, but he is also following this D and E point to be chosen over than this efficient point, because these points are showing equal utilitarian approach. And this D and E is also allocating the utilities in the society in the same proportion. And socially preferred points also following his important assumption that every person has a right of consumption in equal proportion in the society. So every good they can choose, and also they have consumption right. So it means the Rawlsian assumption following that equal proportion of utility of A and B has to be allocated. But under his criteria, he is also focusing on unequal distribution position Q can be chosen only when achievable position of equal distribution welfare along the 45-degree line are below the point D. Means point Q can be chosen only when the utility is below the point D, so that weaker sections utility can be increased. If it's on the 45-degree line, the allocation should be made with the equal utilitarian approach only. So further, according to him, positions of equal distribution of welfare lying between D and E are socially preferable to efficient position Q with unequal distribution. Thus, according to him, to promote the welfare of the poor and underprivileged sections of the society, some efficiency in resource allocation should be sacrificed. So if this is the efficient point, then the resources can be sacrificed to uplift the people and the weaker sections in the society to on the common platform. So that is the Rawlsian analysis and the welfare criterion, which is different from the classical welfare criterion and also the Bergson and Samuelson social welfare function analysis, including the two approaches together, that is equal utilitarian approach and the unequal utilitarian approach, where the weaker section's utility is rising. Thank you.